Delicious describes this cook of crispy cornbread in the Dash Mini Grill. Let's get started.
Welcome to the channel. Today we're fixing a great southern delicacy, maybe a delicacy all over the country. We're fixing cornbread, homemade cornbread in the Dash Mini Grill. I've tried this with several different items and this is the way it works out best. As you can see, they come out beautifully. So let's get to the kitchen and get cooking. We're going to start by mixing our ingredients. And first of all, let me tell you right away, I'm making a half recipe. So everything I'm doing, you need to double, and I'll talk about that. But there'll also be a printed recipe in the information below so you can keep up with it. I've found that using the Dash Mini Grill and some of the other appliances that I use, this makes way too much, particularly when you're not making that many of these little cornbreads. If you're doing them in a frying pan and making them for a bigger group, then yes, use the full amounts. So first of all, I'm going to start with 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour. In the full recipe, of course, it would be 1 full cup. I'm starting with 1/2 cup of cornmeal, of white cornmeal. You can use yellow, and I'm using self-rising, but you can use not self-rising. And I'm also using a 1/2 tablespoon of baking powder and a dash of salt to go in there. And that's all of our dry ingredients. Now what I want to do before I add the buttermilk and the egg, I want to kind of mix this up so it's evenly distributed. And that's got that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a whole egg. And obviously for either recipe, if you're using half of the ingredients or all, you'll need to use a whole egg. And the next thing I'm going to do is use 1/2 cup of buttermilk. If you're using regular milk, which you can, you'll have to use a little bit less because buttermilk's thicker and it makes the dough a lot thicker and it's harder to cook. So we're going to do this. We're going to kind of mix that up a little bit that way, and then I'm going to use a spoon, which is the way I prefer to do thicker batters. And we're going to mix that up and mix it gently. You don't want to go too crazy with it until it's all incorporated, because you don't want pockets of any of the ingredients by themselves. It'll make some bad places in your cornbread. This cornbread's so good. I've been testing it in a lot of different appliances, and I've come up with the perfect one, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. The one I've come up with does the best job every time, gives you the best texture, the best crispiness, and is the easiest to use, and you're probably going to be surprised which one it is. All right, there we go. Let's see what the texture is. It's a little bit thick, and it's going to get thicker as it sits there. So I'm going to add just another little dash of buttermilk to that. You don't want the dough real tight. You want it pretty loose. Let's see what that does. Yeah, that's a lot better. Okay, there we go. That's the way I wanted it. Okay, stand by for just a minute. We're going to set up our cook. Okay, let's get this show on the road. We've got the Dash Mini preheated. As you know, with all the Dashes, I say every time, if it's plugged in, it's on. If it's unplugged, it's off. There's no switch. However, there is a blue pilot light on top, and what that light reflects, if it's lit, it's heating or the heating element is on. If it's off, it's not heating and it's preheated. So this one's preheated. I plugged it in off camera before I came back to start the actual cook. Now, I told you I was going to talk about which was the best appliance to use for this. I've tested the My Mini from Walmart. I've tested the Dash Mini Griddle. I've tested the Dash Mini Grill. And I've tested the Dash Mini Pie Maker. I've tested all of these. Oh, and the Dash Mini Waffle Iron. Hands down, the best one for this particular recipe is the Dash Grill, but with the ridges, and you can see that it has ridges on the bottom and the top. What those ridges do is they add a real crispiness to the outside and cook it fully through without drying it out. I just found it's the best. So that's my recommendation, and I told you I'd tell you what my testing had borne out. I'm going to start with a little bit of spray. I'm using butter-flavored nonstick spray. And we'll put that on there for flavor as well as to make it easy to get the cornbread loose. Now, you don't want to overcrowd the plate because it'll ooze out the sides and make a mess, and it won't be even. So let's put about like that. You can see that's about perfect. We'll close that down and let it cook for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll take a look at it. And I'll let you join me to do that. This has been in here a little less than 5 minutes now, and look how pretty. It looks just perfect, doesn't it? I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can get a better look at it. How pretty is that? I think it might look better if I had used yellow cornmeal, but to be honest with you, I couldn't find yellow cornmeal, so I had to use the white. But it'll taste just the same. Also, I wanted to tell you while I'm thinking about it that I'm using the Dash Mini Grill, but you can use the griddle or the waffle iron or any of the others if you want. I just think it turned out best, all in all, using it this way. Look at the back of it. Look how pretty. Okay, what we're going to do, since that cooked so quickly, let's cook a second one. So we'll have a pretty plate to show in my thumbnail. And again, I can show you just how easy this is. There's a pretty good spoonful of that. We're going to shut her down and let it cook for about 4.5 to 5 more minutes. And then we'll come back and give it another look. Our second cornbread has been in about 5 minutes. And let's take a look. I think it's going to be perfect like the first one was. It's a very forgiving recipe. Also, while I'm turning this over, yeah, it looks great. I welcome questions, comments, and anything else you might have in the area below. But let me get out in front of one question before you even ask it. What about Jiffy cornbread? Could you use Jiffy in this recipe instead of making this up yourself? Sure you could. You could use the same technique and it would be really good. Jiffy, on the other hand, is kind of a sweet cornbread. I like sweet cornbread, but sometimes I prefer more of a homemade, rustic kind of cornbread, and this does the trick. Also, you could put a few little cracklings in this if you're from the South and enjoy that. You could also add just a pinch of cayenne pepper. That adds a little bit of kick to it that I enjoy, and those are just some ideas you might want to think about. Let's take a final look at this. There they are, the two that you saw me, quote, helped me make, and they look really good. And I have to tell you, I made a third one and tasted it, and it couldn't be better. I slathered it with butter, as you can do with these. There are a lot of ways you can eat these. You can put butter on them and eat them that way. You could actually use it as a piece of bread and put ham or pork or whatever and make a sandwich out of them. As thin as they are, that would work perfectly. Also, another thing we do here in the South, whether you're from the South or not, these would make a real good foundation for beans, either pinto beans or black-eyed peas. Put these down on a plate or a bowl and put the beans or the peas over them and eat them that way, and it just doesn't get much better than that. So those are all some great ideas for you with these. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Hope you'll return again, and if you're not already a subscriber, we'd love to have your subscription in the area below. Also, share and click on the notification icon so that as I load new videos, you'll be notified. Don't have to watch them and it costs you nothing. Also, down below there are purchase links to Amazon for the Dash, griddles, grills, and all the other things that I use, as well as some of the other items I use, including the cameras and the photography equipment that you can order through the channel, and it helps us and doesn't cost you anything more. Again, thank you, and we'll look forward to seeing you on our next video.
Thanks for joining us again for this video. We enjoy hosting so many loyal and new visitors to the channel and look forward to creating many more videos in the future. We welcome your comments, suggestions, and questions below. Thank you again, and happy cooking. Take care.